I just was talking to somebody else. So did you film this movie in Oregon?
We did, yeah. So
Okay.
we filmed in this little town in Southern Oregon on the coast called Bandon, and we ended up there because the house itself is a big character in the film, and so we needed the perfect spot. So we did this really extensive search, and we found a spot in Oregon. And what made it so great is because there's so much natural beauty there that would make people want to vacation there. So you understand why the characters would go there, but at the same time there's something really eerie about the area where, with the jagged coastline and the fog and the fact that the house really is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, no, I loved it. It was a huge character in the film, like you said, and I was just really curious about where you guys shot it. So, my husband and I are both film critics and both entertainment reporters. I know you and Allison are both, like writers and directors and actors as well. So, I'm curious for you, when you're going into this and you're directing your wife, do you guys have conversations about this at home? Do you have conversations about it on set, or do you just let her go? Because this was one of my favorite things I've seen her in. I mean, I'm obsessed with her in Glow. It's one of my favorite shows of all time, but I absolutely loved her in this. So I'm wondering for you as a director, how are you directing your wife?
It's an interesting question. I can't say that we talked a lot about it beforehand. I mean, she honestly just made my job easy. Like I've always known how talented she was, but like when I was in a position where I was able to kind of watch her intently for 5 weeks, I realized just the extent of just what she can bring. And what makes her really unique is she's able to balance really heavy drama with moments of levity, sometimes within the space of a single scene. And so it was so impressive just to watch her kind of navigate back and forth between these conflicting emotions. But like the short answer is she made my job easy. She nailed it on the first take every time. And I would go up to her and be like, got it. Like, do you want to try anything else? Let's just have fun. Let's see what else we can find.
Without giving anything away, I like it when she's like, we're doing drugs tonight. It's like, it was so good. So when you were writing this screenplay with Joe, who I also absolutely love, I love Drinking Buddies, I love him in Your Next. When guys were writing this, was it a conscious decision for you to not play one of the characters? Was that always the plan for you?
So I actually wasn't originally intending on directing this movie. And I was going to play one of the characters. I was going to play Josh, and that ultimately went to Jeremy Allen White. And when I decided to direct it, I just made the choice. Like, I want to focus on my responsibilities behind the camera. And I'm so glad it worked out that way because Jeremy is so talented. Like, he's one of the most naturally gifted actors I've ever seen. He has this very raw, unexpected energy. You don't know what he's gonna do, but it's all very grounded. And he brought things to the role that I probably couldn't. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, I absolutely love him in Shameless. Like, I think that he brings like you don't know where his character was going to go in this film. Last question for you, just, looking at your filmography, I'm seeing everything. I love Now You See Me, Nerve. I'm still waiting for that sequel with Emma. It's one of my faves. I want a sequel.
I think something that will make you excited. There is a Now You See Me 3 in the works. Maybe you already know about it, but it's hopefully coming.
Okay. Yeah. Well, last question for you. I mean, just like I said, looking at your filmography and being a fan of yours for the last decade, literally, I would have never have guessed that Dave Franco would have his directorial debut would have been this horror film. And I absolutely loved it. Kevin and I have watched a lot of movies together during this time, and it was just a really, really great scary film that I absolutely loved watching last night. So what kind was kind of the horror genre always in, have you always been a fan of the horror genre? Is that something where you're like, or did you just take the script and you're like, you know what, I really just want to direct this? Because I would have never have guessed that this would have been your directorial debut.
Yeah, I think most people know me from the comedies I've been in, or the Now You See Me movies. And everyone seems to be surprised that my directorial debut is a horror film. But as a viewer, there's nothing I enjoy more than a smart genre film. A film that takes the scares seriously, but also prioritizes everything else. Everything has to be top level: the acting, the visuals, the music, the production design, and just really just really approaching it from a more kind of tasteful, elevated point of view. And it makes me think of, this young group of genre filmmakers who are making really incredible films. People like Ari Aster, Jordan Peele, David Robert Mitchell, Amy Seimetz, Sean Durkin, who was a producer on our film, and their films are more atmospheric and nuanced, and they really take their time to like get under your skin, and then they really linger long after the movie, as opposed to a lot of genre films that have these kind of stock two-dimensional characters that you're not invested in, and it's more about just cheap jump scares. And so we tried to avoid that, and we tried to follow the path of all these filmmakers that I just mentioned.
Well, congrats. Kevin and I absolutely loved it. I loved the cinematography at the end, the score. I felt like it was like a heartbeat the whole time.
Yes,
I thought it was just
yes.
so well done. I know Kevin, like my husband and I are like geeking out about your movie at dinner last night.
I'm so
We
happy
loved
to
it
hear
so much.
that. Let me talk real. I know we don't have much time, but let me talk really quickly, just because you tapped into something that we intentionally did. So these the guys who did the score, Danny Bensi, Sonder Jurians, they're incredible. And there's this long sequence in the later half of the film where there's this underlying rhythm in the music that feels like a heartbeat. And what it does kind of psychologically is it makes you aware of your own heartbeat, which in turn makes your heartbeat start to go a little faster. And then before you know it, you're like a little bit short of breath. And I give those guys so much credit, and the music's such an important part of this film.